of bedrock of this great nation. We must protect conservative ideals with our votes and in our homes.
Oh,
This
your
is
office.
AM 1070
Well,
and
I
FM
spend a lot of time
1033.
up there.
The Answer. Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The following program is paid for by Ray Sasser. The following program is paid for by Massive Passive.
If you dreamed of having a massive passive income, but didn't know
Well, just tell us, like, we'll just say, ask you what kind of loans are available through LifeVestors, and then just tell us how people can get a hold of you, and then,
real estate investors. A favorable business climate, low cost of housing, and that Texas wildcatter mentality are
Say
just
something,
some
Wayne.
of the reasons that the top investors nationwide are flocking to Texas. The Massive Passive Show starts now.
Good morning, Houston. This is the Massive Passive Show on 1070 AM. I'm Pat Reisinger. Next to me is James Haney. And on the far left is Jefe Grande, Ray Sasser. He's the big,
I'm on a diet.
he's the big, well, I lost 5 pounds. I tell you what, I walked up the stairs without my cane today.
All right.
Anyway, I'd like to get on with the show here before we go down another rabbit hole, before this thing gets started. And welcome everybody. This is an ongoing series that we do every Saturday morning in Houston. And for any of y'all that are out there, you can also catch us on the iHeart app, right?
iHeartRadio app, and also YouTube as well.
Yeah, on YouTube. That's right. We have a YouTube channel now.
Mm-hmm.
And and then the other thing is we post this on the Massive Passive Deal Makers. And so do you guys, if later you don't catch the show here, you can go to Massive Passive Deal Makers, and James posts that with a synopsis of each segment, right?
Yes, I do.
So, which is pretty cool. So if you want to just catch a particular segment, you can do that.
And that's on Facebook.
On Facebook, right. I'd like to introduce what keeps us on the air here is our vendors. We have some great vendors. You can go to our website at
MassivePassiveShow.com.
and you can get our vendors. It's pretty cool. You just go in there. Now, we do have a little information thing. We want your name and your email address and phone number, not because we're gonna track you down. We want to put you in our database because we do events. We do a monthly event on the second
Saturday of each month.
That's
and
right.
our next one is September 11th.
I try to include James here on this thing because Ray and James set up the show, and then Ray takes it over. And James and I just sit here and listen for an hour.
I'm getting better at cutting in, though, from time to time.
Yeah. But we have a lot of fun, you can tell. And we're all, we work together, and we have a good friendship. First of all, I'd like to introduce our engineer, Gerard Duhan. It's a great guy. I've got him working on 2 projects for me right now. He does my structural stuff so that we can, if I have to do a permit, he does the drawings, and then he goes and pulls a permit too, which is great. So if you're out there and you're a rehabber and you're working in a city where they require permits, you definitely want Gerard Duhan on your team. Also, we have Transact Tyler, which is Cookie
Right.
Long. She's great. Look, if you're in this business, you need to have vendors that know this business, because if you're using vendors that don't know this business, it's going to be more difficult to navigate the things that you need to get done in order to do your projects and sell your houses, right, Ray?
Yeah, we had to make, we have a little bit of a title issue, and we have to bring an attorney in. And it's nice to know that you can pick up the phone and call the right attorney, because no attorney will say they don't know what the problem is. But the attorneys that deal with real estate issues on a regular basis, those guys are very valuable. They tell you the right advice first. They tell you, it's easy to make a business decision. Do I pursue this? Do I drop this? What do I do? And just reaching out to the right vendors makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have another vendor that just came on board about a month and a half ago, which is the owner finance company, Jen Perez, and her associate Valerie. I think they have another partner I haven't met over there, but they're invaluable if you're going to be in this business, because if you're holding property, right, Ray, is that there's several methods of holding property. Right. One of them is a rental, and the other one may be an owner finance, right?
Yeah, a lot of people, they put their property on the market and they don't get the top dollar for it, or they're only reaching like 20 or 30% of the potential buyers out there. And this company will help the people owner finance the property and cash the investor out. So from investor perspective, you've got your retail price for the property. From the buyer's perspective, they can talk to that other 30 or 40% of people who would not qualify for new financing, but would qualify for owner financing.
Mm-hmm.
So they provide that financing for them.
Right. And the great thing about coming to our meet and greet on the 11th of September is that these vendors will be there to help teach you and guide you into to all the facets of holding property. Right, Ray?
Well, yeah, that's half of it. But the bigger thing on the networking is you need to hang out with the people you want to be like. I mean, you're the sum, or you're the average. Pardon me. You're the average of the 5 people you hang out with. If you're hanging out with the winos at the bar down at the corner, you're probably going to be just like them. If you're hanging out with the guys that are out there doing this every day and day in and day out and making money and learning how to conquer this real estate investing beast, you need to hang out with those people.
Yeah, I always say if you hang around a barber shop, eventually you're going to get a haircut, right? And when we have another company that's kind of like these guys, it's amazing. They both came to me at the same time and wanted to be vendors. And I told them, I said, look, I've got 2 companies that kind of do the same thing. And they told me, no, that we really don't compete with them. Actually, we use each other.
Right.
And the other one is the Owner Finance Network, which is Susan and Scott. Scott is an RE attorney.
Right.
So if you need help with that area, he can also help you with that. Okay.
Yeah,
it's just great. You have a great package all in one.
Scott has probably done 10,000 closings. I mean, he's a closing machine, and he works almost exclusively with investors, and he just knows how to put complex deals together. I mean, that's his strength. What a great person to hang out with.
Yeah, I've got a couple of more here I want to mention real quick, which is SR Construction. That's a good friend of mine, Ruben Zamora. Ruben's done a lot of concrete work for me, especially when I'm doing an add-on to a house, because it will be perfect. I mean, it'll be level. Everything's done right. The inspector comes out and inspects it before they do the concrete, and everything's done properly. And when he lays out the form, it's exactly square.
Does he do just concrete, or does he do other
Well,
asphalt?
he'll do like other applications for me. He's done asphalt and some other stuff. I mean, like a lot of these contractors, this guy's a GC, so he's got other subs,
right? And
he manages them. They're very good. Matter of fact, I had to move a storm sewer on a property, and it cost about $15,000 to do that. And he pulled the permit, moved the storm sewer, put the street back, and everything for that $15,000. Which there's not a lot of companies that do, and in our business, that will come do a job like that.
But they'll do like groundwork too, and put culverts in and things.
He's got all kinds of equipment,
Right,
and of course, a lot of companies, they don't always keep a large variety of equipment. They go lease it because it's much cheaper to lease it.
Yeah, but
maintain
it costs you more. It costs us as the user more, because then we got to pay the rent for the person's equipment.
That's right. But he figures that all into the job. Okay?
Right.
So really, it comes out better, because if he has to maintain a big piece of equipment and do all the repairs and stuff on it as the years go on, and it's costing him money, he didn't have any write-off. So anyway, I have two other companies. One is myself, which is Residential Rehab Consulting. You can catch me on the website too, right, Hal? Mm-hmm. And Hal, this is indispensable. We're trying to figure out before the show started what to call Hal besides just Hal, and we came up with the idea that he's actually our engineer. Our producer and director is Jennifer, right, at 1070 AM, which is she's on the show now, just listening to us, right? Isn't that right, Hal? And Hal is the guy that sets all this up every Saturday morning and all of our events, and is at our event on the 11th, right?
Yeah.
And matter of fact, he does talking with you.
Yeah, when we're at the events, me and Hal actually do the radio show at the event.
At the event, right. And the cool thing is, Hal is also on our website, is Bio City Techs. And if you need a computer guy, you'll need one if you're in this business. I mean, for your website, for any Facebook, for a lot of issues, or if you get a virus, you want Hal on your team, and just put him in your toolbox. Also, real quick, I want to mention my good friends and my associates right here, James Haney, the coach. and Ray Sasser, Jefe Grande, that kind of tells us all what to do, and then we have to get on him and say, why didn't you do what you were supposed to do? But that's the nature of the beast. Ray's a pretty busy guy. Ray, how many doors do you have now? Like 125?
That's not something we normally talk about.
Oh, really?
Right.
Okay, well, we won't mention that. But anyway, Ray's very successful, and he's always closing deals. Ray's also, can I mention that you're half owner of the Alamo Ria?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you just did.
Well, I just did. Well, I want to make
permission.
Well, you know, he's a very modest man, you know, until you ask him something, and then his head gets real big. But anyway, I'm just going to turn this over to these guys, and y'all stick around for a great show.
Well,
Oh yeah, Dewey. Yeah. I forgot Wayne. Oh, Wayne's on the phone. This is our hard money lender. That was the big deal, right? We're having trouble trying to get him hooked up on Bluetooth. Hopefully next week we'll have that fixed. But anyway, Wayne is our hard money lender. And what's the name of the company over there, Ray?
Wayne, why don't you tell us the name of your company and how they get a hold of you? And then let's talk about some of the things that you can do for investors.
All right, what's going on, guys? Can y'all hear me all right?
Yes.
All right, great. Yes, Dewey Wayne here. Life Investor Funding is the name of the company, hard money lenders. We here at Life Investor, we are investors lending to investors, so we can help you through the whole process.
Yeah, Wayne and I were on the phone last week. We probably spent an hour and a half, but we're trying to get some refinancing done for me on some of our properties where we can convert them to 30-year notes. And what was the rate that we figured we could get on that, Wayne?
Well, on some of the long-term refinancing options that we've got some options as low as 3.49%.
Yeah, and then if you're like an investor where you're holding a lot of doors, they kind of they'll look at your track record, and you'll try to figure out what rate we can, get it down to. So track record's kind of important. If you've got these properties already up and running and they've got leases on them, then that makes it real easy to do. And y'all guys really don't nickel and dime people to death on the fees and all the requirements, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep. Our number one goal is to make your project profitable.
Yeah.
So we were flexible, can move things around. If you want the discount points so that you can save on the interest rate, then we can float things around and make it work for you.
Yeah, because like I've got a lot of 7 and 8% type loans out there, and it's crazy to have that kind of money out there when you can exchange it for 5% money. And so that just dramatically improves your cash flow. Tell them one more time, Wayne, how they can get a hold of you, and just real briefly, the different types of loans that you can do.
Okay, yeah, the best way to get a hold of us, lifevestors.org. That's LIFEVESTORS.org. You can go there and sign up and apply, put in all your information, and that'll come directly to me, and then I'll reach out to you. Types of loans that we've got, we do single-family homes and multifamily. We do fix and flip, do the long-term rental. We do short-term rental. It's a new program with Airbnbs. That's something that's really popular right now. Short-term rental, vacation rental properties, bridge loans, and new construction loans as well.
Okay, well, cool. Well, thank you.
One quick thing, besides our website, where you can find Dewey Wayne,
right,
is you also on our 2 Facebook pages, right?
Yeah. We post out there. Yeah. There's.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm there on the Facebook. I'll post every now and then, so you guys can hit me up there. And then again, that website's lifevestors.org, LIFEVESTORS.org. And thank you, Wayne. The one thing I want to say about our Facebook, because we work really hard on our Facebook, and a lot of people will post on there saying that they're lenders, and it's one of those things like if the numbers are too hard to believe, it's probably not real. A lot of people, what scares me is you're dealing with a company, you don't know them, so I'll oftentimes get in and just call them out. I'll say, tell me your website, tell me your history, tell me who you've loaned money to.
And they won't answer you.
No, they never respond.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing about that, Ray, is that, being the sales rep for our business, I'm always contacting people, right?
Right.
And I use Facebook a lot to contact different vendors that we want to court to be our vendor, not only in Houston, but in San Antonio and other markets where we want to have radio shows, right?
Right.
And we have, of course, we already have the San Antonio Rio, so naturally we want more vendors there to help our investors.
Right.
And I call people. I called a lady this week because she's posting on one of our Facebooks, and she answered the phone. How can I help you?
Right.
No company name, nothing.
Right.
And I said, well, you're posting on our Facebook. I'm curious about what you do. What do you want to know?
That I would.
And automatically that tells me that it's a scam artist.
Right.
Because she automatically thinks because the way I call her that I'm a policeman or something, you know. I mean, let's face it. I mean, you know, one time I went to New Orleans and I was lost and asked somebody where's directions, and they said, "Why are you looking for them?" I'm not looking for anybody. I want to know where I'm at. Before they had Google Maps or any of this stuff, right? So anyway, I check a lot of those vendors and try to qualify them if they're legitimate or not. If they're not, I just go back and delete them because I don't want you guys going on there and get hooked by a crook.
I won't say the countries, but there's some countries, people from certain countries, we don't even allow them in.
Right.
You know, in fact, this, you know, real estate investing is local. We don't need a lender out of Nigeria, right? I mean, what's the chances that they're really a lender?
Right.
There's so many scams out there. There's a scam called the 409 scam where they talk old people into giving their social security numbers, and they take these people and they basically mess up their identity. They just rake them over the coals, steal everything in the world from them, and it's like if you're not aware that's going on, you just have to be careful and know who you're dealing with. And one thing is, as person that hires contractors, Pat and I hire a lot of contractors. If we're having to use somebody we don't know, it's very dangerous, and we won't do it without a qualified referral.
Right.
You know, and it's not somebody we don't know as a referral. It's somebody we do know as a referral.
Use them a lot.
Right.
Well, you know, real quick, if you're on Facebook and you see a vendor, the best thing I found is to go look at their profile because it's almost a dead indicator. If it's a brand new profile, that means they just formed that profile maybe to be crooks, right?
Exactly.
And the other thing, you look at the profile and there's no information on it, no city, anything, just stay away from them.
If everybody in the world has a sphere of influence, and if there's a profile out there and the people are not engaging with their sphere of influence, they're not real. And that's the key. If you know somebody that's been out there on Facebook for 10 years, makes regular posting, makes regular comments, you can kind of have a sense, is this a real person? Is this the kind of person I want to work with?
Well, you know, all through the city of Houston and all this area, you know, you and I are known by a lot of people.
Right.
And I guarantee you won't hear anything bad about us in the general public. Now, I can't say that, you know, every customer I've always had, we left on good terms, but I guarantee you 99% of them I'm still friends with, and they call me on a regular basis.
So, Pat, if I'm such a great guy, why are you always so mean to me?
Well, it's because you're ugly.
You're awfully fragile this week.
I might be fat, but you're ugly.
That's funny. Winston Churchill said that. He said a lady accused him, lady something or other, said, "You're drunk," and he said, "I may be drunk, but tomorrow morning I'll be sober and you'll still be ugly."
Oh, Lord.
Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? What's our topics?
First of all, we got to finish up with Wayne. We got to tell him bye and let's have him hang in there.
Well, we went down a couple of rabbit holes, Wayne. I'm sorry, but we do that often.
You guys keep going. I'm enjoying the show.
Okay, thank
All
you,
right,
Wayne.
Thanks for being on, buddy.
Okay.
All right. Appreciate it, y'all.
So what are we going to cover that's so important that everybody has to hear today?
What we're going to talk about, so we have this acronym CALM, which is knowledge, attitude, leads, and money. And so today we're going to kind of focus a little bit on leads and money, and there's a particular way that one strategy that we want to talk a little bit about as far as generating leads, and that's working with wholesalers. and how they can be a great source for leads.
You said you were listening to my interview on REI Black Book, right? Which is a really good platform. And that we talked about the wholesaling. And so what specifically did you want to talk about?
Oh, working with wholesalers and how to use and have a working relationship with wholesalers for them to bring you deals, because like I just said, they can be a really great source for those deals. And then after that, we want to talk a little bit about the money part and how, even if you are wholesaling, how you can actually get money for your deals. And there's ways that you can get money for the properties,
Right.
and even put money in your pocket as if you were wholesaling it and still own the property.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start out with the leads and wholesaling. So your premise is, how do we effectively use wholesalers to get leads for us? And I guess the first step would be to just define what a wholesaler is.
So in my opinion, what I see as a wholesaler is somebody who's out there marketing and generating leads, putting properties under contract, and then they turn around and they assign that contract to either a flipper or a buy and hold person who holds the property long term.
Okay.
And then they end up walking away with an assignment fee.
Right. Well, we know everybody sitting at this table knows this. If you're in the audience, you might not know this, but the wholesaling industry has literally evolved in the last 5 years in a way that you just can't imagine, because the tools are out there. So what are some of the tools that wholesalers use to find deals?
One of the biggest tools is social media. I mean, that's the different platforms you have. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Now there's then Snapchat was good for a while. Now there's TikTok. I mean, you name it. It's just the internet. The things that you can do on the internet. Having a website, that's another avenue. But the key is to get your name out there, and that's the biggest platform that wholesalers use.
How are the wholesalers actually finding the leads? They're actually advertising on the social media and things like that, or
They're calling on phones now.
Yeah, they're marketing. They're running Facebook ads. Some people, we're not advocating this either way, but there are people that use bandit signs. They drive for dollars. Another thing that they use is skip tracing. They build a list of certain types of properties that they want to go after, and then they skip trace and cold call and text blast and sorts of things like that to talk to sellers.
right. And the technology has gotten, it used to be when I first started, when we wanted to find a property, if we couldn't figure out, I mean, we got pretty good at doing title searches, and I'm kind of glad that I lived through that part. But now with the skip tracing, where we would pay $30 to $50 for skip tracing per property, now you can skip trace for 10 cents. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We could find an owner of a property for 10 cents typically, and then actually contact them. I get contacted by skip tracers all the time on our properties. If they see somebody moving out of a rental, I'll get several skip tracing contacts, and they'll always say, "Hey, we're calling about the property on 3402 somewhere," and like I always do what? I've told you what I do, right? Tell them what
Yes, I buy houses, and add me to your buyers list at raysasser.com.
Exactly. I trade you good.
When I was buying houses a lot, I'd go as soon as I'd go get a house and start rehabbing it. I'd have a sign up saying I buy houses, and have my phone number on it. The whole time I was working on the house, because I always say even a blind hog gets snake corn every now and then.
So I do that whenever I have a property that I'm rehabbing. I have a sign in the front yard as well.
So wholesalers have the science of wholesaling has really evolved, and the biggest problem we think there is with wholesaling is it's transactional based. In other words, you do the transaction, you get paid. You go do another transaction, you get paid. You do another transaction, you get paid. And the problem with that is when you stop doing transactions, you stop getting paid.
Right.
So now, as a person that is actively
aggressively buying property, I'm not going to ignore wholesalers, right? Because the wholesalers are, they're working hard, they're finding us deals, and it allows me to be more involved in putting the property in inventory, buying the property, funding the property. And if I could pay a wholesaler $5,000 for a lead, that's a good deal for me.
Yeah, because he had to spend the money to get it,
Right.
and all the time.
And even if he spent $2,000 per lead, which is not unusual for wholesalers, if he spends $2,000 and makes $3,000 to $5,000 off of me, I really don't care. If the numbers make sense to me, we're going to put the deal down. So let's talk about if wholesalers are going to be a lead source for you, how would we use wholesalers? So what are some of the things that we teach some of our students on this?
The first and foremost, like we've been focusing on, is marketing. And then once you get the leads, you get the marketing down, and you become good at generating the leads, then you can be their advisor.
Right.
And, help them evaluate the properties, help them estimate the repairs, show them how to do that, so that you basically can, the analogy I like to use is, when you go to a restaurant, you put in an order and that chef makes the order, or the cook makes that order for you. And you can do the same thing. You can do the same thing with wholesale. You say, look, these are the types of properties I'm looking for. This is how to find them, and then have them go find them. And then they bring you the deal. And the best thing that you can do as an investor is buy a deal from a wholesaler, and you can become that wholesaler's number one buyer.
Yeah, and what I've seen is there's two school of thoughts, and I'm leaning towards one school of thought without the real data, because this is data that's not tracked by anybody. But one school of thought is go out there, generate leads, then generate a buyer's list, then blast it out to all the potential buyers. And another school of thought says, no, I want to develop strong buyers in my areas that I'm looking for, and I want to know that they're going to close. And the reason why that's so important to wholesalers is they don't get a do-over. It's not like that I can write a contract as a wholesaler with somebody and they flake out. I may not have a chance to do that deal again because my contract window is so short that it's more important to me that I've got a good qualified buyer really than making maximum dollars. If you had unqualified buyers, those are the kinds of people, if you're a wholesaler, that end up having surprises when they get near closing. They don't get the documents right. They misrepresent themselves to the lender. If they're using hard money loans, they're just surprised at the end of the day. And so as a wholesaler, if you're dealing with somebody that's not a qualified buyer, doesn't have a lot of experience, you're going to have a lot of failures. Whereas if you're dealing with that qualified buyer that's got the money in the bank, that can close on the deal, as a wholesaler, you want that. The other thing I've seen with wholesalers is when wholesalers start, they're usually beginners in this real estate investing world, and so they don't know what they don't know. They don't know all the different ways to put deals together. They don't know how to fix a problem when it comes up. It's very common for us to get involved in a deal, and we have to help that wholesaler either redo the contract where it's correct, or we have to get that wholesaler, show them how the title issues can be resolved, get the right people working on it. I had a wholesaler. We bought a property out of Florida. And he said, well, I want to use this nationwide title company. And I said, ooh, that's scary. I don't know about this. And he said, no, let's do it. And he'd already opened title with them and everything. I said, real estate's local, especially when it comes to title. And I said, the only way I would want to move forward is if I get to interview that title guy. And I interviewed the title guy, nationwide title guy, owned the company. And he said, oh, yeah, we do this all the time. And I said, man, I'm really scared because if we don't close in this window of time, I'm going to lose my effort I put in it. The wholesaler is going to lose his effort. And the guy assured us, no, it's whatever. Well, anyway, at the end of the day, they couldn't do it. There was a title issue. They couldn't do it. And it's like, okay, I should have listened to my gut instincts. We are never company policy. We got, by the way, we have a 3-ring binder, and it's called company policies. And that lesson went in there. Never use Nationwide Title Company again. Use somebody like Transact Title. they know the Texas law. They know how to get the underwriting done. A guy in Kansas probably doesn't know the Texas law. So it's like, well, we're not going with.
Well, the other part to that is it's just like contractors. You want to use the contractors that are the best, and you want to be able to qualify them, interview them, and everything like
Right.
that. Same thing as a wholesaler, and you're working with a new buyer. You want to do the same thing. You know, like I always tell people, I'm not doing business with people that I don't know.
Right.
I'm going to have to know as much as I can about them if they're going to be my potential buyer. Because
You mean as a wholesaler?
as a
Yeah.
wholesaler,
Right.
because my reputation's on the line, and then also the seller that I've written a contract with, they have a problem that needs to be solved.
Right.
So I'm going to do everything in my power to know that if me and that person do a contract, an assignment of contract, that they're going to perform.
I've had wholesalers, they'll be doing deals and they'll be presenting deals, and I said, look, nobody's going to buy this property. It's not the right kind of property. And it's like because they're not buyers, they don't have that. I get involved in making that product actually work and behave the way it's supposed to, because I'm a buy and hold guy. A wholesaler doesn't understand that, and there's a lot they don't know. And oftentimes I've said, stop looking over here, go to at least 10 zip codes, find stuff in there, and then if you need help negotiating, call me, because if I make you money, you're going to make me money. And that's the way this
And then
business
we can
works.
rinse
Well,
and
and
repeat that process.
Ray, y'all bringing up some really good points, because I'm not a wholesaler, but I am a rehabber, and if I'm looking at a deal, it kind of makes me like a micro wholesaler, right?
Right.
Because I got to buy the deal so it makes sense to me, because I got to rehab it, I got to hold it, and I got to pay insurance and taxes and all that stuff while I own that property.
Right.
So I have to be pretty careful with my numbers. And what I know about wholesaling, the little bit I know, is that, first of all, I did a Google ad years ago. I mean, a Google website, right? Cost me $14 a month or something. My wife set it up. Hal helped us a little bit on it. And I started getting calls immediately from wholesalers that are prowling the internet. So it helped me as a buyer get more leads coming in, right?
Right.
Well, the other thing is that I do know about wholesaling is that you really have to solve that person's problem. I mean, they're losing their house. I mean, what's the reason that they need to sell their house, right?
Right.
Or they want to sell it. Maybe somebody owns a bunch of rent houses and they want to get rid of a couple of them because they need to increase cash flow.
People retire. They're
And
tired
retiring,
landlords or
So
estates.
you need to know how to qualify that person, right, James?
Yeah, and that's part of what we talk about with calm, is knowledge, attitude, leads, and money. Is a lot of people are out there as wholesalers, and we're not talking bad about wholesaling. Don't take it that way, but they have that mentality of, I got to make the cash offer, and that's not always the right solution. So you have to dig down to the core of that problem, and then reach into your toolbox and pull out the right solution for that problem. And sometimes it is a cash offer. Sometimes it can be a subject to or a creative financing deal.
And I think we wanted to talk. So this is kind of leads, and one avenue of leads is working with wholesalers. And honestly, I would say probably half the deals we get are from wholesalers. And learning how to work with them is very important, and supporting them and helping them out. The biggest wholesaler that I ever knew in 2007, and this is why I've learned some lessons when I've seen these down markets, and he ended up becoming homeless. He ended up living in the hotel by the day, and I put him up on one of our properties because he was a true asset, good guy, but he didn't understand about buy and hold, and so he was a wholesaler. When the market changed, he was out of business, just like most of the realtors were out of business, just like most of the mortgage companies were out of business in 2007. It happened a little slowly, but within 6 months to a year, they were all out of business. And so we're really against the transaction base, but if a person wants to be a wholesaler or end up wanting to do JV on deals or partner on deals, because I've been in their shoes, I understand it. I don't have to make all the dollars in every deal. I don't mind. I don't hesitate at all to partner with people if that's the way they want to go. Now, sometimes it's too complicated to partner with people, or it's just too much, requires too much resources on our part. So partnerships aren't always good fits, but if they're a good fit,
didn't do it. We just bought
But-
4 houses in San Antonio, and I partnered up. I basically had to lead everything, and I partnered up because he's local.
But another part to that is, you build relationships regardless.
Right.
If you can partner with somebody or anything like that, you're gonna try to help them no matter what.
Don't y'all
Yeah.
really refer to that a lot as JV, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what you're hitting on, though, James, is people like givers and givers. And if you're a taker, people are repulsed by that. We all, if you're over 30 years old, you can tell a giver from a taker. And the people that are givers always have a full basket of stuff because you're helping people out. So I don't hesitate to answer people's calls. Just before this call, a buddy said, "Hey, Ray, will you work for free for like," he says, 1 hour. I know it's like 10 hours. And but he's a buddy, so it's like if he asks me, I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately, he asked me. I wish he wouldn't have asked me. I'd rather say no. But you help people out, and he's the kind of person that when you ask him something, he'll say, "Okay, Ray, tell me how you want me to do it." He never and you hang around those people. They become your life support system. They make you able to walk on water.
Well, Ray does that to us all the time. He says, "Hey, let me go buy y'all some tacos." Right?
Well, you never know. Just by helping that person out, you never know what can happen 6 months from now, 2 years from now. They may bring you this, just killer deal, and it may be just a buy and hold. It may be a flip that you make $150,000 on together or something, but it'll come back to you in the long run.
We're having a contractor issue. We're working with a new contractor out of town, and we're struggling to find the right formula for us to work together and work on terms that we both can deal with. And I talked to the son last night. I texted him. I said, "Listen, it's never about the deal. It's about the relationship." And this is about lifestyle, right? I mean, we're talking about how we live our lives and what we get back in return. And if you're a taker, you won't have a good life. There is no such thing as a good life for a taker. And don't be that taker. I did a deal with a guy a while back. I'll never forget the guy. I made the deal work. I put it together. We were supposed to partner up. And somehow we didn't get the title in my name and his name. And he just blew me off. And it's like, well, you just made yourself an island. Never touch you, never talk to you, never work with you, and you just threw away this relationship that could last 30 years for a deal.
Right.
You got to be crazy.
Yeah. Well, you see that a lot, though, Ray. It's called. For instance, on Facebook the other day, in my group of people that I went to high school with, and we're all like in our 70s now, right?
The ones that are still alive.
It's still alive. That's right. Yeah,
They
there's
had
800 of us now. We're down to like 350, right?
They had schools back then?
Oh, matter of fact, we had to walk to school barefooted.
Uphill both ways.
Yeah, I wore my first pair of shoes out from the inside. But this lady posted something about.
That's because your feet were tougher than the road.
Yeah, it's so full of calluses from being barefooted. And my dad smoked, so I stepped on his cigarette butts all the time. I got where I could put them out, without screaming.
Sounds like you and I did the same thing.
Yeah. But I tell you, this lady posted something, and it was just totally absurd. And this other woman said, "She's a school teacher. Why does she have to be so stupid?" And my comment was, education doesn't give you common sense. And that's the thing about this business is really a lot of common sense. And people that don't have common sense are always going to be in contrast with other people all the time.
Right.
Because a person with good common sense knows that, if I develop a relationship, especially as a wholesaler, you're developing a relationship with your buyers, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then you also have to develop, in the first part, relationship with the sellers. And if you can't make that connection, it's going to be really hard.
We had a wholesaler bring us a deal, and it wasn't a good fit for what we were doing. And he wanted to convert it to a particular type use. And I said, "You're missing the boat on this. This is not a future duplex. This is a future assisted living. And there's certain structure you get." And he wouldn't have known that. He was pushing, and he talked me into going looking at it. And I said, "It's not a good fit for me, but you need to start marketing this as assisted living." Then he changed his marketing. He sold it. He got more than what he was looking for a conversion to a duplex.
because assisted living has a certain structure, a certain style, a certain location, just like an Airbnb, and just knowing what the right use was. And he wouldn't have got that if him and I didn't have that relationship.
Right.
I wouldn't have, first of all, I wouldn't have told him about it. I wouldn't have told him about the properties that we converted to Airbnbs and know how to do that, and not Airbnbs, I'm sorry, assisted living, and told him this is such a fit because the structure's already there. Everything's in the right place. And so that relationship was a benefit to him. And that's where your relationships matter. The people you hang out with, that's why networking, our networking thing coming up, is so powerful, because these are kinds of things you want to say, well, how do you know it would work like that? What is the problem with that? And you start getting this body of knowledge, and it just gives you that confidence that if you're not doing deals, all of a sudden you're saying, well, shoot, he did that. And it just gives you that confidence to say, yes, I can take this on, or
Right.
I want a JV with you, or whatever.
Right.
So when is that event, by the way, that we do every month?
That event is on September 11th. It's not next Saturday, but the following Saturday. It'll be on the website, massivepassiveshow.com. So I wanted to also put in there, if you're out there listening and you're a wholesaler or a new investor, you want to work with us, you want to find out the types of properties that we look to buy, go to massivepassiveshow.com, and there's a spot there that you can click and input your information, and we'll reach out to you. But again, that's massivepassiveshow.com. I do want to jump into, I wanted us to talk a little bit about subject 2, but I'm not sure if we may have time here at the end. But I do want to talk about one of our student deals that is going on right now in, what is it, Bernie?
Yeah, it's Bernie. Anything in the hill country is hotter than a firecracker. And
Boy, is it.
this was an older home built in the 70s in an area where it's got houses built in the 80s, 90s, 2010s. And this is a little golden nugget I learned just by doing it. The houses that you go in an area like hill country where it's been kind of developing for a long period of time, and then these houses are like 1 and 2 and 3 acre tracts. So your housing density is not real high. And what happens is when they first develop in that area, they pick the people that buy those houses. They pick the best lots, and usually that's on a hill overlooking a vista and stuff like that. So what you're seeing is the older houses are in the best lots. The newer houses, which are better construction, better design, more common, they're in the bottom of the thing. So you're looking up,
tracks.
right? And are in tracks, or even if they happen to be on 2 or 3 acres. They are in the worst part of that development. And so one of our students got a deal, got an opportunity to buy a deal, and we talked to the realtor. We talked the realtor talk, got the realtor to give us the attention we needed. We ended up making the offer we needed to make with some help, and so we put it under contract. And it's an older home, but it's nice. It's high quality for that era. We got it under contract for $300. All the houses in there are selling for about $600. And so you're looking at a rehab, probably a $70,000 rehab, $60,000, maybe $80,000. It's hard to say, depending on what you do. And you're going to end up with one of the best houses in that area on one of the best lots in that area. And that's just that combination, when it goes together and you see it, then you move fast. You don't wait around and wait a week to make an offer or get your contract accepted. And so that's where we're at. We're in the option period right now, and we'll have a couple more days left on it. And so, yeah.
You were up there this week, weren't you? Because I talked to you, and you were.
Well, I went up there. I drove up there because it's such a big deal. The numbers are pretty big, and the older houses, you got to have somebody that's done like 1,000 rehabs, like Pat and I have. And you gotta have somebody who knows what you're getting into, because there's a lot of things that have to be updated and changed. And I just wanted to see it. I mean, we walk every house on every deal we do. Whether we're a lender or a borrower or whatever, we walk every house.
Well, when you're up there, I mean, there's generally an aerobic system or a drip line for your sewage, and then there's a water well. And those 2 items right there can be pretty high cost when you're going into a deal if they're not up to date or not working right.
Well, and like an older,
anytime you got a rural property, you have to walk it, because if there weren't skilled tradesmen building that house, we'll pass. You know, if I can see that the wiring was done wrong or the plumbing was done wrong, and you know, you have to assume it's done wrong all the way through, the stuff you can't see and the stuff you can see. So we'll pass a lot of times on those, because we know that, hey, this person never followed, this was never code. You know what? When they built it,
Wasn't even code for the country.
Right. And we went up there, and the floor plan is terrible.
Right.
But the construction is top notch. It was 10, 20 years ahead of its time when they built it, because they built a really high quality house for that era. Mm-hmm. So now it's just a question of just updating it, improving the floor plan. In fact, Pat, before you leave today, I want you to look at some videos and give me some ideas on how you would open this floor plan up, because in the 70s they tended to have closed floor plans. In the 2010s, it tends to be high ceiling and open floor plan. So how we convert that, you know.
And I'm big on opening up a house too.
Right.
When I go in one and they're buying it for the right price,
right,
I want to show them how to open it up, because that is humongous.
Right.
Not only if you're going to live there permanently, because it's more pleasing and easier to get around in, and then when your guests come over, they're going, wow, this house looks great. So, you know, a part of that's ego, right? But the other thing is, if you're flipping a house, when you walk in, that's your first impression.
Yeah, and knowing engineering and structural makes a big difference, because then you can look at it and say, well, to me, it all boils down to what is the number I write on the check? Can I get this? Yes. What's the number I write on the check? And then when I get that information, then we can make a decision. Like, hey, to open this up, it's $5,000. Well, if I dramatically improve the quality of the property, increase the value, $50,000, well, of course I'm going to spend the $5,000.
Well, you know, my contractors that I've got that's been working for me now for the last 12 or 15 years, the biggest part of them, you know, they're not the cheapest guys in the market, but they're the best, because you don't have to rework their work, which costs you more money in the long run.
And I would argue with you that they might be the cheapest, because when they do the job right, and you don't have to go back, and you don't have to meet them 5 times and talk to them and have a come to Jesus conversation with them every other day.
Well, actually, they can run 2 or 3 jobs for me, you know.
You know, one of the things we don't realize is that everything sucks time out of our life, right? Everything sucks time out of our life.
Come to Jesus moment. That's great. Sorry if you're religious. We don't mean to any harm.
So everything sucks time out of our life, and we have a certain amount of bandwidth, and none of us have as much bandwidth as we think we do. So we can't be jacking around with contractors. We got to say, here's how you do it. Here's how we do the advances. Don't ask me to make a special trip out there. You just do it and let me know when it's done, and let me know where to send the check. And with the contractors we use, a lot of them are people, I don't even check their work, because I know it's right. And I know if it's a problem, they'll come back. And that, when you can get to that point, you've really accomplished something.
That's right. Yeah, you're on the road to success if you can do that.
Yeah, and it's the key is your people. You're no better than your weakest link.
That's right.
Which is your contractors.
Well, I always say in a company, you know, you have the owner, right?
Right.
And I always say, you know, being a project manager all my life, and working for production shops, and I always say they're the least important people in there. They write the checks.
Right.
But the employees run the company.
Yeah.
And they make the company what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So we got about 4 minutes left. I'm going to jump in and interrupt here. So we got about 4 minutes left. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes, Ray.
Well, you better take the first 2,
yeah.
James.
Give you the first. Hey, that's a good idea. Yeah. So I'm going to close out the show now, but let Ray actually do it.
And they just kind of let me fade away.
Yeah. You can be cut off at the music on the end.
A buddy of mine calls me a general.
Let's say we're already 80 seconds. Right?
Yeah.
And old generals don't die; they just fade away.
Okay. So, MassivePassiveShow.com. Go to our website.
You really
it's
are
MassivePassiveShow.com. All of our information's there. All our events, links to our Facebook group, all that's there. Go there. Join us on September 11th. If you're a wholesaler, bring your deals. We want to buy them from you.
Tell your friends about our show.
Yeah, bring a friend. It's free networking. Okay, Ray. So you got about 3 minutes left. I want to kind of see if you want to just share a little bit about what the partnership with you and Damon's going to look like on this deal if and when it closes.
I thought we were going to talk about the sub 2 thing. So you want to?
That's going to be
next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think on a partnership, Damon is in construction, so that I like JVing with people like that. So we would probably provide the money. By the way, investors are always looking for money. We would provide the money and make sure that the scope of work is managed. Make sure that we really understand the exit strategy on this kind of property. You know, with a property being in the hill country and being the kind of property it is, it could be an Airbnb. It could be a fix and flip. It could be probably not a buy and hold just because the amount of cash that we'll have in the deal. So we'll JV on that, and I'll ultimately on stuff like that where I have all the experience and he doesn't have a lot of the experience as an investor, I just say, listen, if we disagree, I get to say so, right? And usually we never disagree, maybe on minor things. But we'll just put it together and we'll just start fixing it up and put it on the market.
Yeah, I found him to be very, very open on the call that you had me on with him.
Right.
He was really open to suggestions, which are not stone,
No.
but they are suggestions.
And it's, the one of my most favorite sayings is the best laid battle plans fail at first sight of the enemy. And that project's the enemy.
Kind of like Afghanistan.
Yeah. Well, the project is the enemy, and so we have to conquer the enemy. And so you have to be flexible. You have to get in there. You have to be willing to change. This is such a predictable type exit strategy and such a predictable type property. I don't foresee any complications with this, and it's so highly desirable. I don't see how you can. There's very, very little risk in a deal like this, and as long as we buy right, that's one of the things that we're going to talk about on our coaching calls coming up, because people get the ARVs wrong, they get the rehab wrong, and so this next month I want to do comps with good data and comps without bad data. I'm going to show you both ways to do that. Pat doesn't know it yet, but Pat's going to show on his coaching call how to do a rehab estimate in 5 or 10 minutes, how you can just walk a house, make a few little notes, and come up and be within 10% of what it's going to cost. If you know those two numbers, now we know what we can afford to pay for the property.
Right.
So that we're going to do that on our coaching calls this coming month.
It's very important to have good values and good repair numbers.
Yep.
So again, we are out of time now, so you can find us at massivepassiveshow.com, and we look forward to seeing you on September 11th at our free networking event.
FunRadio.com.
Yeah, we got water.
AM 1070 The Answer.